going to play the.
Yes, please play the movie. Yeah.
Been the nucleus of the household, the sustainer of Hindu culture and values, the light which has kept the family together. Great women like Gargi, Pannadai, Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi, Jijabai have kept this glorious tradition alive. The Hindu Women's Network strives to achieve its mission with the three-pronged approach of Shakti, empowerment, sadhana through samskaras, and seva, service to society. Our vision is to form a dynamic and vibrant national network of Hindu women living in America to foster communication and collaboration locally and nationally in the service of the society by sharing their skills, talents, and age-old wisdom. The Hindu Women's Network was started with the objective to keep this flame alive, to re-educate the present society about where we come from, our traditions, our values, and aspire to reach those heights again. Hindu Women's Network was started in 2012 as an initiative of VHP of America. The first conference was held in Staten Island, New York on June 24, 2012. The primary objective for the conference was to highlight the various challenges faced by women and create an interactive network to guide them as a support group in their moments of crisis. To harness their collective power, women's conferences are being organized by the Hindu Women's Network Atlanta chapter annually since 2013. The organizers invited community leaders, inspirational speakers, and professionals to share their knowledge and expertise for realistic, actionable methods to practice and preserve the future generations' values and culture. The conference provided an interactive arena where participants voiced their opinions and were not just listeners but actively shared their own experiences in providing spontaneous solutions to the issues. This cohesive environment promoted a tremendous personal interaction between participants. A young woman might get her issues resolved from the wisdom and personal life lessons of a senior who has gone through the same phase of life. The Hindu Women's Network of Cincinnati started in 2014 to cultivate Hindu women's three great abilities: Shakti, Seva, and Sadhana. In the last 6 to 7 years, the network has organized more than 20 events on various relevant topics attended by women from diverse backgrounds and age groups, such as mother-daughter pair, sharing their experience on handling challenges of living in a dual culture, or how to have healthy relationship with yourself to build confidence. All events also have a most admired fun-filled activity, and each session ends with healthy snacks prepared by the volunteer core team. Doing seva is an important part of this network, such as celebrating birthdays of the residents living in a senior center. Residents feel loved and cared by the kindness of volunteers visiting them. We also stepped up during the current pandemic by making and distributing masks to the hospitals and provided food to needy families. This network has been coordinating and managing the Support a Child fundraising events for the last 4 years as part of their Seva goal to support destitute children in Bharat. Audience attending these events have given encouraging feedback that has motivated the organizing teams. Women felt empowered to discuss and share their points of view on this excellent platform to celebrate the sisterhood together. The woman is the figure that unfolds the divine potential that is present in every person. This is apparent in the concept of Ardhanarishwar, the concept of complementarity, that Purush and Prakriti are not in conflict with each other, but complement each other, coming together to form a complete whole. It is the Nari Shakti that completes the family. That is the energy that propels things forward. The Hindu Women's Network seeks to inspire every woman to achieve this ideal, to strengthen her own family and society, to achieve harmony through emotional, spiritual, and financial well-being. The Hindu woman has traditionally been the nucleus of the household, the sustainer of Hindu culture and values, the light which has kept the family together. Great women like Gargi, Pannadai, Rani Lakshmibai of Jhansi, Jijabai have kept this glorious tradition alive. The Hindu Women's Network strives to achieve its mission with the three-pronged approach of Shakti, empowerment, sadhana through samskaras, and seva, service to society. Our vision is to form a dynamic and vibrant national network of Hindu women living in America to foster communication and collaboration locally and nationally in the service of the society by sharing their skills, talents, and age-old wisdom. The Hindu Women's Network was started with the objective to keep this flame alive, to re-educate the present society about where we come from, our traditions, our values, and aspire to reach those heights again. Hindu Women's Network was started in 2012 as an initiative of VHP of America. The first conference was held in Staten Island, New York on June 24, 2012. The primary objective for the conference was to highlight the various challenges faced by women and create an interactive network to guide them as a support group in their moments of crisis. To harness their collective power, women's conferences are being organized by the Hindu Women's Network Atlanta chapter annually since 2013. The organizers invited community leaders, inspirational speakers, and professionals to share their knowledge and expertise for realistic, actionable methods to practice and preserve the future generations' values and culture. The conference provided an interactive arena where participants voiced their opinions and were not just listeners but actively shared their own experiences in providing spontaneous solutions to the issues. This cohesive environment promoted a tremendous personal interaction between participants. A young woman might get her issues resolved from the wisdom and personal life lessons of a senior who has gone through the same phase of life. The Hindu Women's Network of Cincinnati started in 2014 to cultivate Hindu women's three great abilities: Shakti, Seva, and Sadhana. In the last 6 to 7 years, the network has organized more than 20 events on various relevant topics attended by women from diverse backgrounds and age groups, such as mother-daughter pair, sharing their experience on handling challenges of living in a dual culture, or how to have healthy relationship with yourself to build confidence. All events also have a most admired fun-filled activity, and each session ends with healthy snacks prepared by the volunteer core team. Doing seva is an important part of this network, such as celebrating birthdays of the residents living in a senior center. Residents feel loved and cared by the kindness of volunteers visiting them. We also stepped up during the current pandemic by making and distributing masks to the hospitals and provided food to needy families. This network has been coordinating and managing the Support a Child fundraising events for the last 4 years as part of their Seva goal to support destitute children in Bharat. Audience attending these events have given encouraging feedback that has motivated the organizing teams. Women felt empowered to discuss and share their points of view on this excellent platform to celebrate the sisterhood together. The woman is the figure that unfolds the divine potential that is present in every person. This is apparent in the concept of Ardhanarishwar, the concept of complementarity, that Purush and Prakriti are not in conflict with each other, but complement each other, coming together to form a complete whole. It is the Nari Shakti that completes the family. That is the energy that propels things forward. The Hindu Women's Network seeks to inspire every woman to achieve this ideal, to strengthen her own family and society, to achieve harmony through emotional, spiritual, and financial well-being. The Hindu
Namaskar everyone. I am Neelam Jaiswal and I'm currently leading the Hindu Women's Network national team. On behalf of Hindu Women Network team, I welcome all of you. Let me introduce you to the today's moderator, Gitanjali Chaturvedi. Gitanjali is a program manager at a major ID company and she's living in Virginia from last 20 years. For the past 15 years, Gitanjali has been an active volunteer with Vish Hindu Parishad of America, where she currently leads the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia chapter of Hindu Women's Network. She has been teaching the Hindi for classes for 11 years, and she has also led several fundraising initiatives for Support a Child program. She is also playing a vital role in shaping the Shanti Niketan camp. Gitanjali also serves on the VHPA's National Governing Council. Here you go, Gitanjali.
Dhanyavad Neelam ji for that introduction, and it is an honor to be moderating today's event. Namaste everyone. We welcome you to today's event. I'm so excited, and I'm pretty sure by the time you leave this event, you will be walking away with lots of good energy and lots of new knowledge. At this point, we will get started with a devotional song by Apsara. Apsara is a 14-year-old from Washington, D.C. metro area, and she began her musical journey at 4, studying Hindustani classical and Western music. Currently, she is the youngest finalist among 29,000 contestants in the Channel I Sharon Kontho competition. Apsara has won the 2021 Fobana Music Idol in Washington, D.C., and was ranked among the top 10 vocalists in the area. Apsara, the platform is yours.
Namaste everyone. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to perform here. Before I sing, I would like to say one Krishna mantra. He Krishna Koruna Sindhu Dinobandhu Jagat Pote Gopisha Gopika Kanto Radha Kanto Namostate. दुख में ना मेरे राम तेरा नाम एक साझा दो जाना होवे सुख के सब साथी दुख में ना जीवन आनी जानी छाया जीवन आनी जानी छाया झूठी माया झूठी काया फिर कहे को सारी उमरिया फिर कहे को सारी उमरिया पाप के गठरे धोए सुख के सब साथी दुख में ना कोई मेरे राम तेरा नाम एक साझा दो जाना कोई ना कुछ तेरा ना कुछ मेरा ये जग जोगी वाला फेरा राजा हूँ या रंग सभी का राजा हूँ या रंग सभी का अंत एक सा होई सुख के सब साथी दुख में ना होई मेरे राम तेरा नाम एक साझा दो जाना बाहर की तो माटी भागे बाहर की तो माटी भागे मन के भीतर क्यों ना झांके उजल तन पर मान किया उजल तन पर मान किया मन की मेल ना धोई सुख के सब साथी दुख में ना कोई मेरे राम तेरा नाम एक साझा दो जाना कोई सुख के सब
Dhanyavad, Apsara, that was beautiful. Isn't she a natural? I'm sure you all will agree. One thing that we wanted to share about Apsara is that her extended family lives in India and Bangladesh. Since age 6, she has used her earnings to support underprivileged children and disaster relief in Bangladesh. Despite the current challenges being faced by Hindus there, her dedication to helping others remains strong. Today also happens to be her 14th birthday, and from everyone at Hindu Women Network family, we wish her a joyful and blessed birthday. Apsara dear, may your light shine brighter. And now we will get started. I know you can't wait to hear our panelists. We cannot wait for you to hear our panelists. But just a little introduction on who we are. The Hindu Women Network was founded by World Hindu Council of America, also known as Vishwa Hindu Parishad of America. It aims to create a dynamic national network of Hindu women in America. Centered on the principles of Shakti, Sadhana, and Seva, HWN fosters communication and collaboration to strengthen families and society through emotional, spiritual, and financial well-being. HWN gives Hindu women a platform to voice perspectives on cultural, familial, and contemporary issues while educating the youth in Hindu traditions. It develops programs for holistic well-being and strives to build a vibrant network for collaboration at local, national, and international levels. And before we begin, just a quick reminder about some housekeeping rules. We all navigated the virtual world during the COVID. I know it's not a good memory to remember, but just a little reminder, the rules are still the same. Keep yourself on mute and submit your questions in the chat box, and after the panel ends, they will be addressed. We highly encourage you to submit your questions. And now we will actually get started. The event today is part of the Hindu Heritage Month celebrations focusing on women in Ramayana. When we think of Ramayana, the characters that often come to mind are mostly male. Ram, Lakshman, Ravan, Hanuman. However, there were numerous female characters who played equally significant roles. After today's presentation, I'm sure our perspectives on each of them will be positively transformed. And we can hardly wait to get started. Our keynote speaker today is Bhanumati ji, who's the chairperson of Women's Welfare and Child Care Programs at the Art of Living, which is a humanitarian NGO. With over 3 decades of experience, she has focused on education, the environment, and the women's empowerment to drive social transformation. She founded the Gift a Smile Care for Children program, providing free education to underprivileged children. As the chairperson of the International Women's Conference, she aims to connect responsible women globally to catalyze societal change. Bhanumati ji is also the author of Sita, a tale of ancient love, offering a unique perspective through Sita's eyes. Now we will listen to Bhanumati ji.
Namaste. Thank you for inviting me for this panel. It is about the women in Ramayana. Congratulations to the Hindu Women Network, who is doing such a wonderful work, especially in preserving our tradition, ancient tradition. In fact, today I am going to present a few insights into Sita. You see this book here, I have written, and in this book, whatever I have written, a few thoughts about Sita, that how wonderful Sita was. In fact, Sita is such a delicate balance of strength with serenity, of sensitivity and sensibility, of beauty and brilliance, of courage and compassion. So ethereal, yet so approachable. The more you know her, you cannot but love her, in fact, she's such a beautiful character in this. So we are all familiar with the events of the Ramayana, of course. The discussion is about Sita and the women in Ramayana, right? But when you see beyond the event and understand the state of the mind, then you get different perspective of things. In fact, Sita chose to play the role that she did. If you see, she was educated in all the 64 kalas. She had a very strong upbringing. In fact, Janaka trained her as if she was the heir to the throne. From one point of view, you can say, why should a girl marry somebody who is so strong, she is so strong in herself? Why should she marry somebody who can lift or break a bow? Many people have asked me this question. But if you really knew what the Shiva Dhanush was, then you would know that it was the best way to find the best match for her, right match for her. Hundreds of men struggled to move, even together. It would be like a feather in her hands. So her connection to the bow was of a different quality. So unless the boy had the same refinement, how could he match her, isn't it? Also, if you see, when Rama was asked to go into exile for 14 years, Sita could have stayed back in the comfort of the palace, isn't it? But she chose to go. Her comfort was in being with Rama. Nobody forced her to go. She made the choice and Rama supported her fully. In fact, Rama chose to marry only once. If you see here, Ekapatni Vrata, they say. Even though it was common to have many wives for kings, in fact his father had 3, isn't it? He loved her deeply, very deeply. So Janaka also, as a father, a wonderful father, he advises Sita that Rama has come for a divine purpose and Sita should support him in every way. Now, to be the support for Rama, one has to be equal or perhaps even stronger. It is said Hanuman had 14 kalas when Rama had only 12. That is how they say he could help him, isn't it? So this Sita had nothing to prove. In fact, she was in love and was loved, and was there to stand by Rama, isn't it? This is the way I saw her. If women were to see the world through the eyes of Sita, I feel the world will be a much more peaceful and prosperous place. In fact, family relationships will see greater commitment. Single women will feel complete in themselves. You know how she managed herself with the 2 twins in the forest all by herself, isn't it? It was a single mother. That time also she was not bitter, she was so confident and so loving, and this is a beautiful quality of consciousness and the strength in herself, that exhibits. And younger girls will shine with confidence and courage, in fact, seeing such a wonderful example, isn't it? And leaders will know how to place others before themselves. In fact, she always placed Rama in front of her or her sisters in front of her. Their comfort was more important for her. This is what is a quality of a good leader, isn't it? And children will have a role model for caring and sharing. And seekers, as Gurudev says, will know how to see wisdom beyond the events and love beyond personalities. There is a wonderful verse you might all know about Panchakanyas Smare Nityam Mahapapa Vinashanam. It says that who are the Panchakanyas? Sita, Tara, Ahalya, Draupadi and Mandodari. These were the 5 exemplary women. In fact, this is so paradoxical. If you see, these 5 women faced the most difficult challenges and situation in life. Why I mentioned this verse was, out of these 5 women, 4 are from Ramayana, only Draupadi is not from there. So Sita is a mind which is so strong, mind which is in the present moment, mind without any negativity. These are the qualities of Sita's mind. All these iconic women have a very strong mind, if you see, and this is what we can learn from them. This verse says that we have to remember them every day. When we remember them every day, we get purified, they say, no. So what is the purification? When there is no negativity. So that's what it is. When there is no negativity, your mind is so calm and strong, you gain the strength. So Sita's mind was like that, it was untouched by negativity. And Draupadi, as we all know, was married to the 5 Pandavas, brothers. So they represent the 5 senses, these husbands, and Draupadi, the mind. So the mind perceives the world through the 5 senses, but finds peace when it realizes it rests in the self. So for Draupadi, it was Lord Krishna that she rested in, isn't it? And Ahalya was a mind that turned inward, a mind that took a dip in the self, they say, and discovered her eternal pure nature. That is, when we meditate, we realize the depth of our being, when we rest in the self, then we can realize the purity of consciousness, how pure we are. So Mandodari was a mind that saw beyond the outer qualities and focused on the underlying goodness, that is the nature of the self. Usually everybody, it's said that everyone is so beautiful when from inside. So the goodness, that is the nature of the self. Because if she could see only goodness in Ravana, you can understand the refinement of her consciousness. That's why she was so revered, that she could even see goodness in Ravana. So they say that your mind is the one which can make you or mar you. It can create a beautiful around you, or it can really create hell for you. Mana eva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayoh, they say, no? The mind can really free you or bind you. So then Tara was the wife of Vali, we all know, whose mind saw and held on to the wisdom. It really held the wisdom beyond the events, because she placed her faith in the eternal nature of the soul and in the divine. And when Vali lost his life in Rama's hands, what she recognized, that she was the one who recognized that Vali was liberated by Rama, and his soul was freed. She could see that. So she was non-judgmental and had implicit faith in the divine. This is so beautiful quality. And she ensured that her son Angada served Rama and recognized that upholding dharma is what upholds life, isn't it? So remembering them infuses our mind also with these same qualities that enriches us instantly. When you remember something good, you are also in that energy. So these are the wonderful characters that we find in our scriptures, especially in Ramayana. It is such a complete guide for our human values, how to cultivate human values in life, how to be caring and sharing, how to respect and honor our tradition. In fact, Ramayana is exemplary text, itihasa, right? It has happened, they say 7,500 years back. Rama lived this, Rama and Sita lived on this planet. We are so fortunate even to know about them. What is so interesting is, even to this day, it's so relevant. Whatever we find in these texts, all those values, all those quality of consciousness which we can imbibe, these are also relevant to the present generation. So you are all doing such wonderful work. I congratulate you all once again, and thank you so much for making me a part of your program. All the best to all of you. Thank you.
Dhanyavad Bhanumati ji. It was such a beautiful presentation. Who would have thought Ramayana is guide to human values? We always thought of growing up as story of three princes, one of whom gets four princes, one of whom gets exiled and kills Ravan. And how beautifully she described Sita, mature, serene, sincere, sensible, compassionate. Basically, Bhanumati ji told us women are just not beautiful externally. It is the physical, mental, emotional strength part of it, the mind strength, the non-judgmental, having implicit faith. There was so much to absorb, process, and bring it into our practical lives. And you all will agree this was a beautiful, beautiful presentation. And as we continue our journey, I am excited to introduce you to our panelists today. The other three panelists, Vallabha Tantriji, about whom we will talk in detail later, and Dr. Archana Shamsundarji and her husband, Karthik Shamsundarji. All of them are successful professionals at the peak of their careers, deeply rooted in Sanatan Dharma. It's crucial for us and the younger generation to understand that embracing three aspects of our culture, Bhasha, Bhajan, and Bhusha, does not limit us. We can balance our Hindu identities while thriving in both our personal and professional lives. Archana ji and Karthik ji will present first, followed by Vallabha ji. Archana ji is a nephrologist with 20 years of experience in Winchester, Virginia. Born in New Delhi with Tamil Nadu roots, she's fluent in Hindi, Tamil, and English. She completed her medical education at Lady Harding Medical College and her nephrology fellowship at George Washington University. Trained in Bharatnatyam, she has performed at charitable events and supported fundraising for organizations like Chinmaya Mission Somnath Building and Arsh Vidya Gurukulam. Born in Singapore and having grown up in many parts of the world, Karthik Shamsundarji is a distinguished engineer and fellow at a major internet company and adjunct faculty at the Johns Hopkins University, specializing in, get it, big data, cloud, and AI. He co-founded Namaste Shenandoah, leads a Gita study group, and is active in Valley Interfaith Council. Along with his wife Archana, he follows Advaita Vedanta, practices Sudarshan Kriya, and is studying Sanatan Dharma at Hindu University of America. They're committed to raising their children with Hindu values, practicing Sanatan Dharma, which is key to a fulfilling life. I cannot wait for both of them to get started. Archana ji, Karthik ji, the platform is all yours.
Namaste. Thank you so much for those kind words and warm welcome here. My name is Karthik Shamsundar, and I'm here with my wife, Dr. Archana Shamsundar. I just want to say that we are professionals just like many of you. It's just that over the last 15 years, we have spent some time studying our dharma, our religion, so we can pass these values to our children and to our community. In the last 1 year, we've been studying the Ramayana. So today we want to talk about three glorious women in Ramayana. I would like to start with a Shanti mantra. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. It's a beautiful Chanti mantra that says, may Ishvara indeed protect both of us, the speaker and the audience that's in the Zoom. May Ishvara indeed nourish both of us. May we acquire the capacity to study the scriptures. Today we are going to look at the Valmiki Ramayana. We're going to look at some other shlokas. May our study be brilliant. May you and I not disagree with each other. Let us understand the scripture for what it is. May there be peace.
ॐ रामाय रामभद्राय रामचन्द्राय वेधसे रघुनाथाय नाथाय सीताया पतये नमः.
If you look at Sanatana Dharma, if you look at the Hindu scriptures, there are several categories. There's the Shruti, scriptures that are heard by the rishis. There's the Smriti, scriptures that are remembered. There's the Puranas, the Agamas, the Darshanas, the Shad Darshanas, the 6 philosophical schools of thoughts. Yoga, Sankhya, Vedanta. All these different categories all are aligned with the Vedas. And one such category is called Itihasa. Iti meaning thus or so, ha meaning indeed, asa meaning it was. So Itihasa, thus so indeed it was. It is not history, it is not mythology, it is Itihasa. It's a combination. It's our history in the form of a story. There are 2 Itihasas that we have in our culture. There is Mahabharata, which is considered to be Moksha Shastra because it has the Bhagavad Gita. And then there is also Ramayana. And Ramayana is considered to be Dharma Shastra. And if you look at Ramayana, if you read the Ramayana, what you'll realize is that Ramayana is about deciding between 2 choices, not between good and bad choice. It's very easy to decide between good and bad choice. Deciding between 2 reasonably good choices is a very hard thing to do. Think about the choice that Kaikeyi makes. Think about the choice that Rama makes, Dasharatha makes, Sita makes, Lakshmana makes. So as we read the Ramayana, we need to keep that in mind. If you look at the Valmiki Ramayana, it is considered to be the original Ramayana. It's written by Sage Valmiki ji, and it's written in Sanskrit. If you look at Tulsidas Ramayana, it's written in Awadhi. And there are about 24,000 shlokas or verses in the Valmiki Ramayana. And these 24,000 shlokas are organized into 6 or 7 khandas or books or volumes. What I'm showing you here at the bottom are the 6 or 7 khandas. And the reason I say 6 or 7 khandas is because the 7th khanda, Uttarakhanda, is still questionable whether it's part of the original Valmiki Ramayana or not. Many of the scholars are still debating that. But that is not what we want to do today. These 24,000 shlokas, around 6 or 7 khandas or volumes, are organized into 534 sargas or chapters. So what you can see here is the Balakanda organized into 77 sargas, which is, again, some shlokas in it. So that's how the entire thing is organized. Now, the interesting thing is that these shlokas are written in what is called Anushtup Chant meter, which is very same meter as the Bhagavad Gita. And even more interesting fact is that there are about 300 plus versions of Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana being the original Ramayana. And these variations of Ramayana, actually every author pretty much does some, their own imaginative aspects with the same basic story. Something to keep in mind.
So, as we can see, there are many women in the Ramayana who played very important roles. Many powerful women, strong women who made important choices. Without them, there would probably be no Ramayana. Today, we would like to share with you 3 of them that we have been specifically reading and reflecting about. Sumitra, Anasuya, and Shabari. Let us start with Sumitra.
Sumitra. Mitra means friend. Sumitra means good friend. And when there's an A at the end, it becomes feminine, and so it becomes the woman's name. The background. Rama is exiled to the forest for 14 years. Sita and Lakshmana choose to accompany Rama. It's a very gloomy background in the family at the palace. Lakshmana shares decision with his mother Sumitra. Though Lakshmana is not officially exiled, he decides to accompany Rama to the forest. And in this scene, Lakshmana is sharing his decision with his mother Sumitra. Imagine what must be going with Sumitra's mind. In Valmiki Ramayana, Valmiki ji writes, Tam Vandamanam, Lakshmana bidding farewell. To whom? Rudati Mata Saumitrim. Sumitra, Mata Sumitra, who's Rudati, who's emotional. But how does she act? Hitakama, wishing well. To whom? Mahabahum, to Lakshmana, her son Lakshmana. This is no ordinary son. Lakshmana is a great warrior. He's a great administrator. He's equivalent to Rama. And then she goes to Lakshmana and she does this. Murtni upagreya Lakshmanam, to show her affection. She says, she hugs him. She smells the head of Lakshmana. Then she says, Shrishtaktam Vanavasaya, I permit you to go to the forest. Rudati, right? Emotional. Swanarukta Sukraj Jane, I know you're highly fond of your brother, and I know you want to follow your own dharma. Rame Pramadham Ma Karishi. Do not neglect Rama. Be with him all the time. Putra Bhratari Gachati, who's also going to the forest with you. How bold. Then she says, Lakshmanam Samasiddham, who's ready to go to the forest. She says, Gacha Gachati, Gacha Gachati. She says, go, Lakshmana, go follow your dharma. And then a very beautiful statement she makes, very beautiful shloka. She says, Ramam Dasharatham Vidhi. Consider Rama as Dasharatha. Dasharatha just let them go to the forest. She says, consider Rama as Dasharatha, Lakshmana. Vidhi Janaka Atmajam, Janaka's daughter, which is Ma Sita. Consider her as mom, as me. Sita must be 17 or 18 years old. She's a princess. She's a bride. She just came into the family. Look at the value that Sumitra puts on Sita. She says, consider her as your mom. And then she says, Ayodhyam Atavim Vidhi. Rama and Lakshmana and Sita are not going to picnic. They are going to the forest. And she says, think of that forest as Ayodhya. She knows it's going to be a hard time, but she says, imagine that. Gachatata Yatha Sukham. She says, go happily, my son. What a powerful one.
Yes, what a difficult situation. But what a powerful moment, isn't it? And most importantly, what a powerful woman. So of course we all have emotions, and it's okay to do so. In a situation like this, there could have been a variety of emotions Sumitra could have had, isn't it? She could have been angry at her husband, King Dasharatha. She could have stormed into his room and asked him, what is all this? Promise? What promise are you talking about? She could have played the blame game and been upset at Kaikeyi. She could have been so annoyed with Lakshmana and said something like, "Stop this right now and come in here. You are not going anywhere." Valmiki ji does describe Sumitra's emotions. He says, "Rudati," she was crying. And if I try to put myself in her position, my heart weeps and I shed motherly tears with her. Of course, she is sad when she realizes her son will be leaving her and going to the forest for 14 long years. But, and it is a really important but, she decided not to just act on that emotion, but used her intellect, wisdom instead. You know, if only her emotions directed her actions, then she probably would have said something like, "Lakshmana, my dear, I love you so much, more than anyone in this universe. I have raised you with such great care. How can you even think about going away from your mother? It is Rama that has been exiled, so please don't get us entangled in this problem." But she does not do that. Instead, she's able to balance emotion with wisdom and is able to encourage her son to do the right thing. Truly inspirational, isn't it? Also, she shows us courage in letting go. Imagine the strength she must have mustered to let go. She not only permits her son Lakshmana to go to the forest, but as we learned from the verses Karthik just shared with us, she offers words of encouragement to him to follow his duty. Sumitra shows us how, as mothers, as parents, we have to sometimes let go of our own desires and allow our children some space to grow. Notice how she puts Lakshmana's duty first and allows him the opportunity to forge his own path. You know, we probably can relate to similar situations in our own lives, isn't it? Maybe on a smaller scale, where our children may want to choose a career path that may not feel right to us because it's not conventional. Or they may want to go study or work somewhere far away from home. Sumitra's example may help us negotiate some of these situations a little better. Additionally, I admire her for her courage to focus on the greater good despite adversity. It's pretty difficult to cultivate this. Her ability to look at the bigger picture. See how she's able to do what is necessary in that moment. She was able to go beyond her own ragas and dveshas, her own strong likes and dislikes, and focus on the greater good. In doing so, she was able to do what was best for her son Lakshmana, but also her family and beyond. For me, Sumitra embodies maternal wisdom. Let's take a moment now to just reflect on the Sumitra in each of us. She embodies balance, strength, and wisdom. Next, let's look at Anasuya.
Anasuya. Asuya means envy. Anasuya means absence of envy. The background. Rama and Lakshmana and Sita are banished to the forest. Sage Bharadwaja directs Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana to visit Atri's ashram located in the Dandaka forest, which is where they are bound. On arrival, Sage Atri and his wife Anasuya welcome Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana into their hermitage. What you're seeing is a very beautiful painting. It's a Malwa painting from the mid-17th century, which is present in the National Museum in New Delhi. In this picture, what you're seeing is Sage Atri and his wife Anasuya welcoming Rama, Sita, and Lakshmana into their hermitage. Now, Sage Atri, when he introduces Anasuya, to Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita, he praises his wife Anasuya. Amazing. While introducing Anasuya to Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita. And there are several verses dedicated to Anasuya. He says, when the earth was burnt with drought, Anasuya, this virtuous woman, produced fruits and roots and observed severe austerities, caused the river Janvi to flow and reduced 10 nights to 1 night. She is an Ugra Tapaswini. Anasuya is a great Tapaswini. She's a great ascetic, well versed in the Vedas. And he praises Anasuya. And then Sage Atri suggests that Sita talk to Anasuya. And Anasuya is a great Tapaswini. She has Divya Drishti. She knows exactly what is happening in Sita's life. She knows they're going to the forest. Sita is dressed in plain clothes. Let's see how she interacts with Sita. She says, Tam katham shrotum ichchami. First of all, she addresses her as Maithili, the princess of Mithila. And she says, Tam katham shrotam ichchami, your story, your love story, I would like to hear. Who doesn't want to like to hear a good marriage story, a good love story? So she's saying, I would like to hear your story when you got married, when you got engaged. Your Swayamvaram. And then she says, Vistrena, in complete detail, Yatha Anubhutam. Of course, she knows about this story. She's heard about it. She says, as you experienced it, as you felt it, as you felt your love for Rama. Vaktum, tell me, Kartsena, in full detail. How beautiful the conversation. And then she gives her some gifts. Remember, Sita is dressed in plain clothes. And newly married couple. She says, Vaidehi, O Sita, idam, here are varam, gifts. What kind of gifts? Not cheap gifts. Divyam, divine gifts. And she gives her malyam, garland. Vastram, clothes. Abharanam, ornaments. Angaragam, perfume. Anulepanam, cream. Not regular cream. Maha arham, a rare cream. And it's so interesting that some of the ornaments that Anasuya gives to Sita is what Sita Mata later on uses to drop from when she was getting kidnapped. She had the presence of mind to do that.
What a beautiful interaction, isn't it? You know, what caught my attention here was not just what Anasuya Devi says, but most importantly, what she does not even bring up in this conversation. Typically, when someone is going through difficult times, we may have a tendency to focus on their misfortune. There seemed to be none of that in this interaction. So rather than saying things like, oh, Sita, you poor thing, you must be really struggling. Being a princess, you're not used to such a brutal life. Or even unbelievable what your mother-in-law is putting you through. Instead, all Anasuya asks is for Sita to tell her everything about her love and marriage to Rama. About the happy times. Such a great example of the importance of positive and supportive interaction and communication. By doing this, we uplift the person in distress instead of reopening old wounds. She then goes on to praise Sita. She says, your speech is so sweet. Every syllable was so nice. She also praised her for her adherence to duty and her righteousness. This open appreciation is something I think we can all cultivate in our interactions, isn't it? We often think great things about others, but then don't always take the time to say it. Let this be an inspiration for us to do that more often. Also, as Karthik described, Sage Anasuya was actually very learned. She was called Ugra Tapaswini, but she decided only to share relevant knowledge with Sita Mata. She did not start talking about, what is the nature of Atma or how do you conduct a penance, etc. Instead, she shared some practical tips about leading a fulfilled married life, the companionship between husband and wife. She understands it's going to be difficult for them in the forest, and they will need to know how to cope during these trying times. And when we notice the gifts that she offers Sita, it really reflects her thoughtfulness. She gave her practical things that would help keep her feeling clean and fresh in the forest. So basically, what is essential for us, I think, to learn from Anasuya Devi here is to understand what a person needs in a given moment and then act accordingly. Whether it's support, appreciation, advice, or sometimes the biggest gift is just a listening ear. Give them what they need rather than imposing our knowledge or opinions on them. For me, this is a powerful example of women supporting women. Let us all try to be an Anasuya to the women in our lives, be it in our own families, daughters, sisters, daughter-in-law, sister-in-laws, or be it at the workplace, like the new hire in the office. Personally, for me lately, it has come in the form of mentoring young women doctors in my own practice. Some of them join with no experience in private practice and have difficult time juggling long work hours, patient care, charting, and their family responsibilities. I never want to come across as the bossy senior doctor they need to be scared of, but just a friendly face, someone who has been there, done that, and can tell them it can be done. On a given day, our conversations can range all the way from kids to quick, healthy recipes to the most complex cases at the hospital. Let us all take a moment now to reflect on the Anasuya in us. Let us support, appreciate, and share. Next, let's talk about Shabari.
Shabari means hill. Shabari is the resident of hills. So Shabari is a tribal woman, but she's also a great tapaswini. Sita Devi is kidnapped. Rama and Lakshmana are searching for Sita. Kabandha advises Rama to form an alliance with Sugriva to find Sita. Kabandha details about Matanga hermitage and urges Rama to visit an anchoress named Shabari. An anchoress is someone who withdraws from society to be able to lead an intensely prayer-oriented ascetic life. Shabari was a hunter's daughter belonging to a tribal family. The night before her marriage, she saw thousands of goats and sheep brought by her father to be sacrificed for the wedding. Moved by compassion, she renounced the world and ran away to meet a master, a guru, Sage Matanga, and served him with devotion. Even after Matanga obtained samadhi, Shabari continued her principled ascetic life. In the ashram, serving, visiting sages, and waiting for Rama, waiting for moksha. Here's a beautiful painting that you can find at the National Museum in New Delhi, where Shabari is welcoming Rama and Lakshmana. Notice there's no Sita. She's kidnapped. But when they meet, there are no introductions. Are you Shabari? Are you Rama? None of that. First time they meet, they recognize each other. There is no question of introductions because a devotee and Bhagavan don't need any introductions. Now, Rama asks Shabari many questions. First, he addresses her. Tapodhane. Oh, aesthetically wealthy lady. Rama has Divya Drishti. He knows who she is. And he says, Kachitte. Kachitte can be translated into two. Have you? Or it can be translated as, isn't it? So, Kachitte nirjita vignaha. Have you conquered your obstacles? Wait a minute, Rama. Shabari is living in the forest. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of obstacles. Getting food, getting firewood, getting water, everything is an obstacle. But he's saying, have you conquered it? Are you upset about it? Are you content? Kachitte vardhate tapaha. Is your tapas growing every day? We all do prayers, we all do meditation, but is it growing? He says, has your tapas been growing? Are you moving forward? Are you making progress? Kachitte niyata kopaha. Have you conquered your anger? You know, when we are living the regular life, we get angry with people around us. But she doesn't have anybody to get angry at. But you can think of it, when you're in the forest, everything can be a problem. Is she getting angry? Is she getting upset about things? He says, have you conquered your anger? Have you conquered your food? Then he says, Charu Bhashini. He refers to her as Charu Bhashini. Very beautiful name for women. One with a pleasing, elegant speech. Can be a great name for men too. He says, Kachitte niyamah praptaha. Have you been following your niyamas? You know, in Yoga Sutras, we have the niyamas, the 5 niyamas: shaucha, cleanliness, santosha, contentment, tapas, discipline without supervision, swadhyaya, self-study, ishvara pranidhana, surrender. He's asking her. He says, Kachitte manasas sukham. Very important. Are you happy? Are you content? We do our duties, but are you happily doing it? Are you happy? Kachitte guru surusha safala. Did you perform service to your gurus? Here's what she responds with. Shabari says, Tavasam darshanat maya. Rama, your appearance here means my ascetic life is fructified. Prapta tapa siddhihi. I have obtained everything that I need. Look at the confidence. She doesn't say, yes, I've done this. She simply says, your presence alone means I've attained my moksha. She says, Safalam Janma. My life is fructified.
Wow, what a moving story. To describe Shabari's qualities, I decided to choose 4 Sanskrit words, since I did not think any English word by itself could do justice. Whenever I think about the moment when Shabari decided to renounce her family life and follow the spiritual path, I'm struck by how mature she must have been, even at a young age, especially considering this was an era thousands of years ago. She had the clarity and the independence of thought to make such a brave decision. She was able to discern her deep calling for spiritual growth and then did what she needed to do. Shabari is an inspiring example of what we call as Viveka. She then spends many years serving at her guru's ashram, like we learned, showing us the true meaning of the word seva. It is not just about doing things for ourselves, but to work for the greater good. You know, when we surrender our actions to a higher power, we can purify our hearts and minds, an important step in spiritual growth. It is no wonder then that seva is such an important pillar of the Hindu Women's Network. It has such transformative power. Then, once her guru leaves his physical body, Shabari patiently waits for many years for Rama's arrival. cleaning the ashram, gathering fruits and berries, etc., so she can serve him upon Bhagavan's arrival. She did this day after day for years on end without losing hope. Her faith was unshakable that Rama would come and bless her one day, a glowing example of Shraddha. When Bhagavan Rama finally arrives, she serves him with total devotion. Shabari really shows us what bhakti is all about. Selfless love for Bhagavan. You know, the most moving aspect of Shabari's story is her humble reply. When Rama asks her if she's prepared for liberation, she responds very simply and most beautifully. She says, "Your presence, Rama, means I have already attained everything." Wow. Her profound humility, Vinaya, is so moving, isn't it? For me, Shabari exemplifies unwavering dedication. Let us take a minute now to reflect upon the Shabari in each of us. Someone with such deep faith and devotion, so independent, yet so humble. Thank you, everyone, for your kind attention. Dhanyavad. I wanted to share with you this picture of when we attended a wonderful HWN DC chapter event earlier this year, organized by our Gitanjali ji and the great team. We are humbled to be here today and to be able to talk to everybody. Dhanyavad and namaste.
Namaste.
Dhanyavad Kartik ji, Dhanyavad Archana ji. How does one even summarize that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful presentation? I was overwhelmed. I'm pretty sure you all found yourself transported to days of Ramayana, looking at these stories, these characters, real time in front of you. Kartik ji and our previous keynote speaker both reiterated the fact that this is what happened, thus so it was. Ramayana is itihas. It is not mythology. This is something that happened many, many, many years ago. There were so many beautiful aspects about all of the three women that they focused on. The independence, the clarity, Viveka, Bhanumati ji spoke about faith, Archana ji spoke about faith, Seva, all of those things are so important, so relevant today. Having an ally, having somebody who listens to you when you need, and I'm pretty sure it resonates with most of us. Sometimes we just want to be heard, and then we want to be told what we need, not what somebody else tells us. And finally, I just find myself strapped for words. I just hope we get to listen to this beautiful presentation again on more further topics. I'm just overwhelmed at this point. And before I take away the magic of last 30 minutes, as you saw heard my timer ring, I will move on to our next panelist, Vallabhaji, who is a Minnesota resident and has been living there for last 20 years. She works as a regulatory affairs associate in Minneapolis. She coordinates the Hindu Heritage Month initiative in Minnesota and has helped organize the first ever Diwali celebration at Minnesota State Capitol with Governor Tim Walz. Vallabhaji served as president of the Hindu Temple, Maple Grove, in 2028 and 2019, and is now the program coordinator for Hindu Mandir Empowerment Council, or HMEC. Vallabhaji, looking forward to listening to you.
Thank you, Dhanyavad Gitanjali ji, and I was, steeped in Rama Bhakti and Ramayana's, powerful women and everybody's significant role, the way Karthik ji and Dr. Archana ji, led us through that last 30 minutes. So tough act to follow after them, but I will do my best. Jai Siya Ram to everybody. And I'm very happy to present this to all of you. Give me 1 minute, I'll start sharing my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. Yes, we
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the Hindu Women's Network for giving me the opportunity to spend this afternoon and, sharing a little bit that I know about Ramayana and the women in Ramayana. Our keynote speaker also mentioned this shloka, and, as she mentioned, 4 out of this 5 Panchakanya that has been, part of the shloka are from Ramayana. So Ahilya, Draupadi, Sita, Tara, Mandodari, Tata. Panchakanya smare nityam mahapataka nashanam. So that's the importance of women in Ramayana, and that's how, I remembered this shloka as well when this team approached me to present for this topic. I was like, this is what I came to my mind, and what powerful women that we all have to learn and, to decipher their message, their learning in our day-to-day life, even now, even in these modern times. The women that I would like to shine a spotlight on this afternoon are these 3 women. Urmila, Lakshmana's wife; Kaikai, wife of Dasharath Maharaj, the whole catalyst of, if you will, for this epic that we are going to discuss of Ramayana, and Manthara, the maid. I'll start with Urmila. The younger sister of Sita, she plays a significant but often a role in Ramayana. She doesn't feature prominently in the central narrative of Ramayana. However, her role is crucial in the broader emotional and familial context of epic. I don't think there is any references in the main text, the Valmiki Ramayana or Tulsidas Ramayana, other than the fact that, that she is married to Lakshmana. There is not much that has been, spoken about her in the classical text. In fact, she is the biological daughter of King Janaka, since, of course, we all know that Sita Mata was Ayonija. She was found in the furrow of the plowed land. And so she, Urmila Devi, is the biological daughter of Janaka. So were the other 2 sisters as well. I have personally pondered about what it would have happened, what it was like for Urmila Devi in those long 14 years of exile, and even afterwards, what might have happened, because there's no stories there. Perhaps some creative writers might come, as Karthik ji mentioned, there are 300 versions of Ramayana. Somebody might have some, creative side to it of what might have happened to this lost princess. And even when you go to Ayodhya temple now, alongside Ramnavala Vigraha, and those are the 2 pictures that I'm sharing in the slide. You do see the 4 brothers being worshipped. So even in the main temple now, after the Prana Pratishtha, you see the main Ramlalla, and you do see all the 4 brothers being worshipped. So there is a presence of, all 4 brothers in their Bal Rupa in the temple. And also there is a Kanak Bhavan. There's the other picture is of the Kanak Bhavan. Then there is a Sita Ki Rasoi, and so many other things that, kind of points towards the main characters, if you will, but does not mention Urmila. And it's given that, Lakshmana's decision as to follow Rama into exile had a profound emotional consequence for Urmila, as she was left behind. Everybody else was making their decisions and the choices, as Karthik ji said. And Urmila was then perhaps the key figure in the family dynamics of the royal household. She stayed back. When we see the lives of Sita and Urmila, I mean, this is not meant to be a comparison as to who had it worse, but just to try to look at Sita and Urmila's situation from a woman's perspective. Yes, Sita had to endure the hardships of a life without comfort, but at least she had the companionship of her husband. And the husband who meant a world to her. She had the companionship. Whereas Urmila may have had the access to all the comforts of a palatial life, but what good is all of that if her husband Lakshmana is not with her for 14 years? So she had to endure the loneliness and the emotional strain. And to top it off, um, the fact that she had to stay back in the palace with not one but three mothers-in-law, and at not so hunky-dory times, and gloom and doom, if you will. So her story is clearly a story of epitome of sacrifice, and I personally feel that Urmila is as strong as our Sita Mata. One more point that I would want to bring is, if you see Sita Mata and Urmila Devi, both are gems when looked through the lens of modern feminism, right? I mean, Sita Mata, both of them, in fact, were not Abhala Naris. Both of them had strong character in spite of their tender age. And if you see, the keynote speaker also alluded to that she was raised, Sita Mata was raised as an heir by her father, Janaka Raja. So again, as I said, many things have been said about Sita Mata, that she was a strong woman. She challenged the norms. She went to the forest based on her personal decision. She was not asked to go by anybody. Even in exile, while she shouldered the responsibilities of being a homemaker, she did also exercise her right to ask her husband to provide what she needed. She requested the golden deer, nothing less. She was an independent thinker, and did not meekly follow some of the rules that were laid, right? I mean, we all know the crossing of the Lakshmana Rekha was her conscious decision, of course, due to her noble upbringing, of not to insult the Brahmana, or the ascetic who had come to the Kutia. So all being said, she made the choice. She stayed strong in Ashoka Vatika in Lanka, and by no means a weak personality. So I can only decipher that, that Urmila Devi was also had the similar personality like Sita. They were all strong women, as I said, if you see through the lens of, modern feminism. What do we learn? What do we learn from the story of Urmila? In this day and age of social media and, support and affection, open display of support and affection, stories like that of Urmila are often lost. That's the first point I have on the slide, the importance of supporting loved ones from the background. Not every person needs to be the center of attention to be important, and support doesn't always have to be loud or public. Sometimes the most impactful actions are those that are unseen, such as providing emotional backing, creating a stable environment, or simply being present for others. It's important to recognize and appreciate the contributions of those who support from the sidelines. Resilience in the face of adversity. The lesson is, in spite of the personal challenges or separation, whatever Urmila Devi endured, being separated from her husband for 14 years, she never was bitter or did not wallow in self-pity. Her emotional strength enabled her to silently support her family while dealing with her own struggles. The last point is of the emotional intelligence, understanding both her own feeling and those of others, which is a vital skill in modern relationship and personal growth. She was able to manage her emotions in most difficult situations and was supportive of all others in this epic. That being said, I will move on to the conclusion that, Urmila Devi was a character. Urmila's character is representative of the themes of sacrifice, devotion, strength, contributing to the rich emotional and moral epic of Ramayana. Again, I'm not here to pontificate saying do as what Urmila Devi did in Ramayana, or don't do, think about yourself. Not here to give any information on that, but just to shine a spotlight on this little known, character from our epic. Next, I move on to the two other women that I have decided to shine a spotlight on. That is Kaikeyi, and the next one would be Manthara. But I would probably be talking about both of them, together, because that's the interesting combination that led to the story that we have at this point. Kaikeyi, one of the central characters in the Ramayana, the figure who experiences a dramatic transformation in the epic. First, as the beloved queen, mother of Bharata, she's initially is noble and wise character, but her actions later becomes the cause for Rama's exile, a twist that changes the course of the entire narrative. Again, a very complex and fascinating character, married Dasharatha on a condition that her son should be the king. So pretty much you have the same kind of parallel, if you will, in Mahabharata, where, Shantanu Maharaj marries Satyavati, with the same kind of promise. Kaikeyi knew warfare, battle techniques, saved Dasharatha during a war, and therefore got that two boons that scripted the entire history. She probably was the nimitta. The way I sometimes see this itihasa, because Rama's exile was predestined, because Ravana's death was to happen for the Loka Kalyana. And also the Shravana Kumara's parents, the curse that Raja Dasharatha had incurred while he went to hunting, and he accidentally killed Shravana Kumara, who was attending his parents. The curse that was there, that was lingering on Raja Dasharatha. So if you see the itihasa from all angles, I feel Kaikeyi Rani was the nimitta, the tool, if you will. Of course, the story cannot go forward without the Manthara, the hunchback maidservant of Kaikeyi in Ramayana. We every time we even have the word Manthara come, we all will have animated facial expressions. But one thing we all have to remember is she took care of Kaikeyi since Latter's childhood. She pretty much raised Kaikeyi. She was perhaps, she joined Kaikeyi after wedding to Raja Dasharatha to stay in the palace. So she had the best interest of Kaikeyi in her heart. Manthara had best interest. She did not think about everybody else. She did not have the big picture, but she had the best interest of Kaikeyi all along, throughout her life, throughout Manthara's life. That was what she was meant to do. And she just did that, even during, reminding Kaikeyi of the two boons that was pending from Raja Dasharatha. The conversation between these two, right? It's very interesting. I mean, when you see Tulsidas Ramayana, what transpired between the two? I mean, they go on and on in the conversation, but in Ayodhya Kand, there is one place where Kaikeyi, who is so happy just to know about Rama's coronation, she says she is not understanding why Manthara is not happy, and she says, Bharat shapat to hi satya kahu, parihari kapat durai, harasha savai bisau karasi, karad mohi suna. She says, Harash Samay, this is, occasion of rejoicing. Why are you so dismayed? What happened to you? And it's on Bharata's name. Please tell me, Bharata Shapata, what happened to you? And just, set aside all your deceit and, all your other games that you play. What happened to you? Why are you not happy as the rest of us? So the transformation, as I said, dramatic transformation from she goes on from this to she goes on from that doha, if you will, to and of course the conversation goes on to परव कूप तुअ बचन पर सकौ पूत पति त्यागी कहसि मोर दुख दे की बड़ा कसन करब हित लागी. She says, Coop, I will probably, throw myself down a well. I will throw myself to a Koopa on your words, on your, tu'a bachana. And I will forsake my put and pati. And I will, forsake my son and my husband just on your words. So you are my well-wisher and you are, everything that who has always had the best interest in your heart for me. So I will listen to what you have to say. And, that's the whole story that transforms the queen Kaikai. So it's a very interesting piece of itihasa, if you will, of how this transformed and how things, went from one thing to another. What led? Well, the message in today's world, why is it important? What is it? What's the relevance of this sambhashana between Kaikai and Manthara? I would say, to everybody, identify the mantras in your life. Even if there are many, maybe they are talking to you with their best interest, but you don't need to react as Kaikai. Not everything is about ourselves. It has to be seen in the grand, big picture. How does it affect the family, the community, and so on and so forth. So don't be a Kaikai to your Manthara. And also we should cultivate the ability to think critically and, make decisions based on facts, logic, rather than being easily swayed by others. And, especially when they are acting out for their personal gains. And I would have to say this, in modern times, this lesson is particularly relevant when we are navigating the media, the social network, the relationships, where misinformation or biased advice can be easily, can easily mislead us. So that's what I think is the message if we have to understand from this Kaikai and Manthara Sambhashana. That's about it. I am now open to questions.
Dhanyavad, Vallabhaji, that was beautiful. All the stories, of course, when we talk about Kekai and Manthara, a smile does come on our face. Most of us remember the Ramayana from Ramanand Sagar, and all of these characters have such an image associated with them. And we learned so much about Urmila. Some of these ladies we never even think about, or we think about in certain light. Manthara did her duty, she did her dharma of selflessly caring for Kekai, and Kekai's emotional tug of war, just kind of figuring out what she really wants, but at some point probably having an Ansuya in her life would have helped her make the right judgment call. But the point on Nimit was so appropriate, because we all are channels to have certain things happen in the world. So thank you so much to all of our panelists today. The story of Ramayana and all the characters are so beautiful. The storytelling was so beautiful. But one thing I would request all of us to please keep in mind, that the recent history of 1,000 years has definitely changed the narrative on the position and standing, the place that Hindu women commanded in Hindutva. They were educated, they were independent, they took decisions, and more importantly, their decisions were respected. They supported their spouses. For them, the bigger picture was important. It was we instead of me. And Vallabhaji, to your point, in today's day and age, we are in world of social media. So it's very difficult to become that foundational stone or the cement that brings all of this building beautiful, because all of us want a certain level of acknowledgement, visibility, and there has to be a balance to all of it. There are so many takeaways from today's story. Probably all of us can go and do a little assignment on what we all kind of learned on Ramayana. And obviously, one of the key other message is making the right choice, as Karthik ji says. Making a decision on right versus wrong is such an easy choice, right? Versus the right versus the more appropriate right. What's needed now? So with that said, I will pass the baton to Shobha ji, who is an active member of our National Hindu Women Core team and is also HWN's local chapter, Cincinnati. In her own words, she says because she loves to chit chat, she's always assigned to monitor the chat box in our virtual events. But of course, Shobha ji, we know you are wonderful. You are our strength. And the questions that all of you put in the chat box, Shobha ji will take the question and answer session from here. Thank you, Shobha ji. Over to you.
Thank you, Gitanjali. Thank you, all the speakers. Wow, just amazing. You know, not enough words to appreciate your deep knowledge that you are kind enough to share with us. So of course, we want to know more, right? So along with the positive comments, I'm pretty sure everybody saw those wonderful comments, you know, that such an enlightening, educational, very interesting, and they talked about amazing speakers, of course. So, okay, so we have a couple of questions. One is, when you were preparing for this event, you know, what was your aha moment? Because you gave us a lot of aha moments, for sure. So what was your aha moment researching these Shaktis in Ramayana? And all three speakers can help us with that question. Thank you. Karthik ji, you want to go first?
All right, I'll go first. I think, you know, we can study the Ramayana. I can tell you the story of Ramayana in one line. I can tell you the story of Ramayana in 5 lines. I can take 10 minutes to tell it. I can take 5 weeks to tell you the story. So the interesting thing is that when we look at characters like Shabari and when we look at characters like Anasuya, I think many people have probably not even heard of Anasuya and the great ascetic she is. And Shabari, we always hear this classic, oh, she gave bear to Rama, but we don't look at some of the things that she has done. We don't look at, and again, Anasuya, the conversations that we are having, all those things get lost in the narratives that we see written by the media. So when we actually looked at each one of these characters, we explicitly picked very so popular characters. And when we looked at it, we saw so much depth there is 24,000 shlokas. And all I've presented today was only maybe 8 or 9 of them. Imagine how much depth there is in these interactions. And we often take what is written out there as the reality. So I would recommend people to actually spend some time and looking at these things themselves and with an open eye, rather than just picking up, you know, some written material that's out there, right? There is another aspect of it, which is Tulsidas Ramayana, which is the original Ramayana, has certain things. And then there are these variations that are there. There are many authors that write differently, and there some in Tulsidas Ramayana has a lot of bhakti associated with it. So sometimes we confuse a few things because their creativities are there. So sometimes I like to go to the original Valmiki Ramayana. The most important thing is there's so much literature that we have, so much, it's just amazing. I mean, that's all I can say to you right now. I mean, you can see in the verses how much depth there is. That's there.
Right.
That's my
Yeah.
aha.
That was a very encouraging words, Karthik ji. You know, 24,000 slokas. That just, but what you have, all of you have done is highlighted some of the ones that we can, you know, practice. We can also understand the deeper, meanings of all these Shaktis. Archana ji, would you share your aha moment with us?
Yes, I will try to share. I have one global aha moment and then one kind of specific aha moment. The global aha moment was as we are just studying, our scriptures, and then of course the Ramayana. It's like every time I study something, I'm like, my God, this could take a whole lifetime. And every time you study it, or even if you go back and read it again, or you study it, there is a different aha moment that comes. So it just is so rich that I feel blessed that we are on this journey. And I feel even more blessed that we are all in this journey together. So that's one just general aha moment. But then specifically, as I was reflecting through the characters that we talked about today, I think maybe based on the stage I am in my life, Anasuya Devi is probably somebody I relate to very much, and I want to be inspired by her. I want to be more and more like her in all my interactions, personally and professionally. I think I have attempted to do so already, and it's not just, I don't think it's just helping others. I think it's making me grow as a person as well. And for me, that is really powerful. And a personal story is that one of our physicians, was having difficulty, and now she's flourishing. She's doing so well, and I think she's bought a house in our town. And one day I came to work and somebody said, she said, when she grows up, she wants to be you. So, I mean, I think that touched me. I was almost in tears when I saw that. And then, of course, there are plenty of opportunities, I think, in our family and our friend circles to uplift others. And the last thing I will say is, yes, we want the men in our life to be supportive of us, but let's start with each of us supporting each other as women. Now we're all in pretty powerful positions at work. I mean, I'm talking about my medical practice, but we're all in these big corporate environment type situations. Why don't we help each other? We all have things to bring to the table. Why can't we highlight that and work with things that are, we see our junior women or whatever they're struggling in? We can work with that, but we all have great things to bring to the table, right? None of us are perfect. So let's help each other in that way and uplift each other and learn from Anasuya. Let us all try to be an Anasuya in our lives, right? So thank you so much. That's all I have.
Thank you, Archana ji. You have been Ansuya ji for us for a while, since giving us such a wonderful examples, especially the one that resonated with me the most is that someone gave you the best compliment anybody can have, that that person wants to be like you when she grows up. And another thing, women supporting women. I think that makes such a big difference because we have men who support us, but we cannot be jealous of each other or any kind of a negativity about each other, but always seeing the positivity in all women that we come to know, we are friends with in our family and everywhere. Okay, so Vallabhaji, can you also share that aha
Absolutely.
moment?
Absolutely. Thank you, Shobhaji. And I've, on a different note, I did have an aha moment when we had the dry run and Karthik ji was talking about Shabari. So I had a mental note to myself, like, now I have to deep dive into understanding this, women also in Ramayana. But the aha moment that I had for was when I was actually researching on trying to do the presentation today was, of course, for the Kaikeyi, right? I watching Ramanand Sagar Ramayana growing up, I thought she's perhaps like, that Dhruva story, Suruchi Sunuti, jealous queens. I truly thought that was the thing. So it came naturally to her. But while you studied, it's like, no, she was not like that. And, so many other things started coming, surfacing itself to me, to make me understand about her character. One of the creative writers, and maybe it's they were also discussing that maybe she knew that Shravana Kumar's parents did curse Dasharatha, so there was a putra viyoga. So there has to be a situation which has to be created where he is momentarily separated from his son. Otherwise there would have been a different consequence, right? So I think all of these things were going on, and I didn't personally piece it together, but while creating this thing to this presentation, that was a aha moment for me, that probably she knew more than the rest of the queens, and maybe there is a selfish motive, but I wanted to understand her in greater detail. So thank you for the question. That was a great question also.
If I
Well,
may
thank
add,
you.
if I may
Yes,
add to-
please, Karthik ji, go
Yeah, I
ahead.
just want to say, first of all, Vallabhaji did a great job talking
Yes.
about, some of the key characters that are shaping up Ramayana, and they are
Mhm.
not very popular characters,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you have to look, but she's doing a great job in recognizing Kaikeyi and her power that she has.
Mhm.
She was a very beautiful queen. She was well versed. She was raised like a boy. She was, and all her great accomplishments that she has. And even before anything happens, any of incidents with Mantra happens, she basically says, "My Rama is going to become king." That is the attitude that she has. And Mantra is, you can look at Mantra as a character, but Mantra is not really a person, a character. Mantra is a quality. We have lots of people in our life that are mantras, right? It's a quality that we are actually looking at, right? So it can be whether it's in our personal life or it's in our professional life. We have these mantra characters that keep coming, and we have to kind of manage that. It's very, very important to
Mhm.
understand that. And you
Yeah.
can actually research on mantra, and she also had the right intention. Mantra's intention, if you look at mantra, she basically says, if that happens, if Ram becomes king, then Kausalya will become superior, and then you will be serving Kausalya, and I'll become the maid's maid. The attitude that she's having. And yes, Kaikeyi should not have taken the choice, but
Yeah.
that's what it is, right? That's what is going on. So it's important to understand
There
that.
will be mantras or mantra type feelings that will come in our mind,
Correct.
but we have to
Yes.
remember not to react like Kaikeyi.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And like Vallabhaji already talked about it, how to avoid or how to contemplate on it and do what you really think the right thing to do. And here we already have in the chat box, somebody said, excellent insight to Kaikeyi's character. So thank you, Vallabhaji. Okay, so we have another question. Do we have enough time? We have a timekeeper, somebody. Geetanjali, we have enough time for the second questions?
And we do.
Okay. Okay, so what we would like you to do, all three of you, give us one or two facts to support the viewing the Ramayana as a history instead of mythology. How do we break this myth? So many times, you always hear that, and we just want some factual data that can support us to show that Ramayana was the historical events. Thank you.
Can I go ahead?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to share a very simple picture. So here I am. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we
So
can.
what you don't have to go too far. You can be, this is great thing about internet technology right now. So if you actually go in and look at the picture of India, and this is Sri Lanka over here, and then if you look at from Google Maps, you can actually see the Ram Setu bridge right there. That's the Ram Setu bridge that's under the thing. And these are not just regular formations. They're actually physical stones that have been placed over there. So that's an example right there. And also in Sri Lanka, there are many places that Lavatika, Ashoka Vatika, all those, the gardens, they're all still there. If you still go to UP, Maharashtra, if you go to some places in Karnataka, the places are over there. So there's a lot of historical evidence. There's also mapping that has been done by Dr. Nilesh Ogji. who
Mhm.
has basically taken, see, if you look at the 24,000 verses of Valmiki Ramayana, वो क्या कर रहे थे? वो लोग ऐसे घूम रहे थे, ऐसे बैठे हुए थे. 14 years they're in the forest, and there's a lot of conversations that they're having, and you can actually learn a lot. In fact, they are actually Rama and Lakshmana, and they're all narrating the position of the stars. We have a very big astronomy background, so they are noting down the stars. उनको कैसे पता कि 14 years हो गया है, right? How do they know that? So they have to keep track of time also. So they know how the stars are moving, how the sky is changing. So actually in Valmiki Ramayana, they are actually writing down those positions. And Nilesh Okji has actually mapped that, and looking at the current map of the world, the astronomy, he's actually mapped this, I think, to close to 50,000, 55,000 years old or something like that. But there's a lot of astrological evidence is done. The last thing I want to say is that, does it really matter whether this happened or not? Really? Does it really matter? Right? If it really happened, great. We have great female characters. If it did not happen, if there is a man that wrote this and he wrote about these great characters and what they can do, even great. Right? Otherwise, they will only write about men, but they have not. They've written about women, very strong, powerful women. So, does it really matter? Something to keep in mind.
An
Thank you.
excellent point, Karthik ji, excellent point. We can always debate on it. So, and then we miss the point, or we miss the learning lessons that Ramayana has given us. So very good point. Archana ji?
I just want to add just a couple of things. I think Karthik covered it mostly.
I hope I didn't steal Archana's answers. We didn't discuss any of
I'm
this.
just
Well,
going to
see, women have an capability to come up with another answer very quickly.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'll try to put
Yes.
the cherry on top on your answer.
Yes.
So basically, this is a classic example of when we try to get into this question of, is it myth? Is it real? Is it history? It's the classic example that sometimes we run into trouble with, because we immediately now, maybe because of the colonization or all the Western education that we all have had, we immediately have this feeling we have to put it in one of the two buckets. But believe it or not, it is more than that. It is purva vrittam katha yuktam. Okay, so it has happened, but it has been told as a story. So it has elements of both. So, and the reason it is told as a story is, look at this, we are still enjoying talking about it, studying it, learning it. It is in all of our hearts after so many thousands of years. I mean, so I think we have to be careful about the fact that, yes, people do try to put our, Hindu terminology and et cetera, into little boxes. I mean, the classic example is, when I was thinking about Shabari, I couldn't put her into any English word. I'm like, I'm going to have to go to, Sanskrit, for describing her. So I'm sure you've all seen the book Sanskrit Non-Translatables. It's a great book. I recommend it. So it really goes to the fact that sometimes we have to kind of think out of the box and say, hey, listen, we can't really be, put into this particular box. And the only other thing that I would say is that ultimately, like Karthik said, we don't really need to box ourselves into this type of binary situation. And listen, the important reason why we study this is, our purusharthas, our goals in life, right? As Hindus, is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And the question we have to ask is, does Ramayana help us progress in our purusharthas? And I hope in this forum and outside of this forum, it is a resounding yes. So I think if we can all say that, the answer to that question is yes, then I think Ramayana is Ramayana and so much else to study, like I said earlier. So thank you.
Yes. And, really like that thinking out of box. And you put a big cherry on what Karthik ji responded. So we'll go with Vallabha ji.
Of course, this is a very good question, and I think we have all, spent a lot of time, answering this question with our friends and,
Yes.
people who agree with us, don't agree with us. I think if everybody remembers Karthik ji's presentation and the first few slides that he had shown, the entire map the literature map, if you will, the Puranas, the Upanishads, and and there he has one of the thing as itihasas. Only Ramayana and Mahabharata, yes, thank you, are called itihasa. So that's where I'll start. That yes, exactly. This is where I'm trying to say. Shruti, Smriti, and Upanishads and everything, Vedas, but these are the only two texts which we call as itihasas. Again, what Karthik ji alluded, the star positions, there are 24,000 verses. And if you take key occurrences and you go back and do, put it in some software now, thanks to modern astrology and astronomy, we can, date back and try to see. And the star positions come exactly the same. You cannot make this story up. In fact,
Yeah.
Rama's horoscope is one of the best horoscopes that you can find. 6 of the planets are exalted or in Swakshetra or, in friendly state or so on and so forth. There are so many evidences that we have even for that to say that, hey, these things have happened. It's true. Again, third thing, we know the journey from Ayodhya to Sri Lanka, right? We know just certain few key points like the Chitrakoot and the Panchavati and the other areas, right? And if you go through that journey, there will be some Rama-related temple or something like that, and the descriptions are also there. And in fact, I have a book which was given where they are going to create something related to Rama in all the places where he has gone from the Ayodhya to Sri Lanka. I'm sorry, my apologies. I don't remember all of the places names properly, but there is a foundation. I think it is Ashok Singhal Foundation, who is, that's their project that they're going to work on. So if you just go back and see the explanation details, Valmiki ji has explained all of these places, and they cannot cook up the story. So I also totally agree with the Karthik ji. It's a moot point whether it has happened or not happened. So we have so many good lessons to learn from this.
Right.
Vallabhaji, Nilesh ji's dating is precisely, he actually has a book
Yes.
called 12,209 BCE. So that
Perfect.
means with all these astronomical clues, it is 14,000, we have to add 2,000, so 14,409 BCE. That much precision, it's amazing. And I think he did that because the next generation does want to have, we can just does want to look at, because we all think scientifically now. So they do want to look at this way. So I think that is why this work is so awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We have one more question, but just not enough time. So we can answer that question quickly, if one of you would. How does one implement Treta Yuga principles in a Kali Yuga?
I can take that question, if it's okay.
Yeah, we just have maybe a
Absolutely,
couple of
absolutely.
minutes.
Yeah, I'll just give you a quick answer. I
Okay,
think
thank you.
we should practice truthfulness, satya, speak the truth, be
Beautiful.
compassionate with people, be authentic in your actions, uphold your dharma, right? Perform your duties selflessly, sacrifice and yajna, following your austerities, tapas, devote, go and, I know we are looking at science and things like that, but bhakti is something beyond, right? So science only can study what is being provided. So understand the concept of bhakti, right? Reinforce family and community bonds, support sessions like this, right? And cultivate your inner purity. So there are so many things that we can learn from Ramayana that we can actually cultivate over here.
Great answer, Karthik ji. Many choices for, we can pick one or two. That would be even great. And now I would go back to Gitanjali. Platform is yours now.
Thank you, Shobhaji, and thank your esteemed panelists. It was wonderful listening to all of you. Cultivate your inner purity. Definitely, we practice what we learn, and kind of we walk the talk. One thing on if Ramayana happened or not. I have the least experience, but one thing I truly believe in the power of faith and truth prevails. And from Smriti and Shruti, something that has survived for thousands and thousands of years, my faith says I do believe we had all these Shaktis there. And I am at this point so grateful. Do not want the session to end, but Jaya ji will share the closing remarks. Jaya ji is a long-time VHPA Karyakarta. She's passionate about preserving Bharat's culture for future generations. She has led programs like Bal Vihar's youth conferences and Hindu Women Network, and has co-authored publications such as Vivaha Sanskar and Children's Prayer Book. Those are really good books. I have seen them. She's a retired licensed clinical social worker, and she specializes in mental health and hospice care. Jayaji is married to Dr. Abhaya Asthana, who is another one of our very respected elders in VHPA, and has 3 children and 7 grandchildren. Jayaji, over to you for closing remarks.
Jayaji, unmute yourself. Jayaji, you are on mute.
So sorry about that. Namaste. What a wonderful program. I'm sure you agree, and I'm sure everyone enjoyed it as much as I did. I also learned so much during this webinar. Such wonderful insights from everyone. Now, such a program does not come together without significant help from many people. While it is not in our tradition to thank people, I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of Hindu Women's Network's National Committee to express our appreciation to all those who helped put the program together. Many, many hours of planning went into the success of this program. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to our technical team for the flawless execution that we saw today. To our president for leading the whole effort, spent so many hours trying to put this program together, nitpicking, putting all the finishing touches on all the details. To the committee for the many hours they put into formulating the concept, contacting the speakers, and all the follow-ups and practice sessions. Last but certainly not the least, kudos to the wonderful speakers for their in-depth study of the subject and putting it together so eloquently and presenting it in such a fascinating way. And to our keynote speaker, I have no words to express my gratitude for making time to address the topic so eloquently and for your deep study of the subject. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. My apologies if I have inadvertently forgotten to appreciate anyone. You all know that you hold a special place in our hearts. Now, as is our tradition, let us close with a short prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Thank you so much, everyone.